First Contact and Ultimatum. The NIGMA Empire had conquered 17 star systems and subjugated over 40 sentient species when they first detected radio signals from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. For decades, they observed the blue world from afar, watching as its inhabitants built cities, fought wars, and developed primitive spacecraft that barely reached their own moon. To the NIGMA, humans were just another species to add to their collection, quaint creatures with limited technology and divided political systems. The Empire classified Earth as a Category 3 acquisition target, a planet with resources worth harvesting, and a species easily subjugated. High Admiral Vorax stood on the command deck of the Inevitable Dominion, the flagship of the NIGMA Armada. Massive view screens displayed the blue-green world growing larger as they approached. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the planet, his gray skin reflecting the blue light. Curious that they've detected us already, his second-in-command, Commander Nexus, remarked. Their primitive sensors shouldn't have that capability. Vorax flicked his secondary limbs in dismissal. It matters little. Prepare the diplomatic convoy. As always, we will give them the opportunity to surrender peacefully before we demonstrate our power. The NIGMA Empire prided itself on efficiency. Their standard protocol was simple: offer subjugation with limited autonomy or face complete military conquest. Most races chose the former after witnessing a demonstration of NIGMA firepower. The diplomatic vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing on the grounds of the United Nations headquarters in New York. The aliens emerged, tall, 4-armed beings with gray skin and multiple eyes, and were met by a hastily assembled delegation of world leaders and military officials. Admiral Helena Chen, commander of Earth's United Defense Force, watched the aliens with calculated interest. She had prepared for this moment for years, ever since Earth's deep space observatories had detected the approaching fleet. The NIGMA ambassadors spoke in perfect English, courtesy of their advanced translation technology. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Zrix of the NIGMA Empire. We have come to offer you the privilege of joining our galactic community. The terms were clear. Earth would surrender all military assets, provide resources according to NIGMA quotas, and accept NIGMA oversight of all technological development. In exchange, humans would be allowed to maintain limited self-governance and receive protection from other cosmic threats. President Williams of the North American Alliance stepped forward. Ambassador Zrix, we appreciate your offer, but Earth is a sovereign world. We're open to peaceful relations and trade, but we cannot accept terms that amount to subjugation. The ambassador's upper eyes blinked slowly. You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. These are the terms of your incorporation into the Empire. With a gesture, Zrix activated a holographic display showing the NIGMA Armada in orbit, hundreds of massive warships dwarfing anything humanity had built. Tomorrow, we will demonstrate our power by neutralizing one uninhabited island as proof of our capabilities. You have 48 hours to reconsider your position before we begin planetary pacification. As the NIGMA delegation returned to their ship, Admiral Chen approached the president. They're making the same mistake every invader in human history has made, she said quietly. Which is? Williams asked. They think superior technology guarantees victory. They don't understand who they're dealing with. Back on the Inevitable Dominion, Ambassador Zrix reported to High Admiral Vorax. As expected, they refused initial terms. They'll reconsider after the demonstration. Vorax nodded, his secondary limbs inputting commands to the ship's systems. Prepare the atmospheric disruptor for deployment over target site Gamma. The primitives will soon understand the futility of resistance. A communication officer interrupted. High Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. It's being broadcast across all frequencies. Display it, Vorax ordered. A human female appeared on screen. Admiral Chen. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held something the NIGMA couldn't quite interpret. This is Admiral Helena Chen of Earth's United Defense Force. We have monitored your fleet since it entered the Kuiper Belt. We understand your intentions and your history with other civilizations. Before you proceed with your demonstration, we have a message for the NIGMA Empire. We are not like the others. We do not surrender. We have hidden our true capabilities because we prefer peace. But make no mistake, if you force this conflict, you will not be conquering Earth. You will be fighting humanity. And humanity does not lose wars of survival. This is not a threat. It is a warning from one sentient species to another. We sincerely hope you heed it. The transmission ended. Silence fell over the NIGMA command deck. Commander Nexus broke the quiet. Typical pre-subjugation bravado. We've heard similar from a dozen worlds. Vorax wasn't so certain. Something in the human's tone disturbed him. Not fear or anger, but a strange confidence that seemed utterly misplaced given their technological inferiority. Proceed with the demonstration as planned, he ordered, but increase our defensive posture. I want full shields and all weapon systems on standby. The next day, the NIGMA deployed their atmospheric disruptor over an uninhabited island in the Pacific. The device would create a localized weather catastrophe, hurricane-force winds, and lightning storms that would devastate the target area without causing long-term environmental damage. It was designed to frighten rather than destroy. But as the device descended through the atmosphere, something unexpected happened. It stopped responding to commands. Then it simply vanished from their sensors. What happened? Vorax demanded. Unknown, High Admiral. The device is gone. No energy signature, no debris. It's as if it ceased to exist. Before Vorax could respond, a new transmission came from Earth, text only, broadcast on all frequencies. We warned you once. This is your final warning. Leave our system now. Vorax's mandibles clicked in anger. They've somehow interfered with our technology. This is unprecedented. He turned to his war council. Prepare all ships for combat operations. The demonstration has failed. We will now proceed with full military engagement. On Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen watched the NIGMA fleet repositioning for attack. Around her, the combined military leadership of Earth waited in tense silence. They're not leaving, General Okafor of the African Federation said quietly. Chen nodded. I didn't expect them to. The NIGMA have never retreated. It's not in their psychology. They've conquered too easily for too long. Then Operation Hydra is a go? Asked the Chinese premier. Yes, Chen confirmed. They had their chance. She turned to her communications officer. Send the activation codes to all defense platforms and get me the Artemis base on the far side of the moon. The officer hesitated. Are you sure, Admiral? Once we reveal those systems, the time for hiding is over, Commander. The NIGMA Empire has made their choice. Chen's expression hardened. Now they'll learn why you should never corner a species that turned its own planet into a battlefield for thousands of years. In orbit, the NIGMA Armada prepared to launch their first wave of attack ships. They were confident, methodical, and utterly unprepared for what was about to happen. They had studied human history, but had failed to understand its most important lesson. When faced with extinction, humans didn't negotiate. They evolved, adapted, and overcame. And they had been preparing for this moment since they first detected the NIGMA fleet approaching the solar system 5 years ago. The unexpected resistance. The NIGMA fleet launched its first assault at dawn. 500 attack ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, targeting major military installations and government centers. High Admiral Vorax watched from the command deck of the inevitable Dominion, anticipating a swift victory. First wave encountering no resistance, reported Commander Nexus. Planetary defense systems appear minimal. Vorax's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The human's bold warnings had been empty bluster, as he'd suspected. Already, he was contemplating which regions of Earth would be best suited for resource extraction. Then, without warning, the tactical display erupted with alerts. Attack ships began vanishing from their monitors. Status report. Vorax demanded. Unknown defense system activated. Nexus responded, his four hands flying across control panels. Our ships are being targeted by something. Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. The truth revealed itself moments later. Across Earth's surface, concealed installations opened to reveal advanced weapon systems, rail guns capable of launching hypersonic projectiles, energy weapons that could penetrate NIGMA shields, and missile systems loaded with warheads far more powerful than the NIGMA had believed humans could produce. But the real surprise came from above. Hidden in the debris fields of Earth's orbital paths were hundreds of stealth satellites that now revealed themselves, activating energy weapons that cut through NIGMA ships like they were made of paper. In the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold. "Status of Operation Hydra?" she asked. "Phase 1 performing above expectations," replied Colonel Santos. NIGMA first wave, encountering 78% casualties. They're attempting to regroup. Chen nodded. "And Artemis Base?" "Ready on. Your command." "Tell them to wait. Let's see how the NIGMA respond to our first surprise." On the inevitable Dominion, Vorax was furious. How is this possible? Their technological level should be at least 2 centuries behind this capability. Science Officer Muldrin approached cautiously. "High Admiral, preliminary analysis suggests these are not standard human weapons. The energy signatures indicate technologies similar to those of the Arcturian Alliance." "Impossible," Vorax snarled. "We destroyed the Arcturians 3 centuries ago." "Not entirely," Muldrin corrected carefully. "Some escaped, and it appears they may have found refuge here." The implications were staggering. The Arcturians had been the NIGMA's most technologically advanced opponents before their defeat. If they had been helping humans prepare. "Recall all attack ships," Vorax ordered. "Prepare the heavy cruisers. We will bombard their defense installations from orbit." As the NIGMA attack ships retreated, humans around the world watched the skies. For many, this was their first confirmation that the rumors of alien contact were true. Governments had kept the approaching NIGMA fleet classified, revealing only that a potential extraterrestrial situation was being monitored. Now, as debris from destroyed alien ships fell through the atmosphere like meteors, the truth was undeniable. Humanity was at war with an alien empire. The NIGMA's second assault came 3 hours later. 20 heavy cruisers moved into low orbit, their massive cannons targeting Earth's now revealed defense installations. These were planet-killer-class vessels, each capable of devastating an area the size of France. "They're positioning for orbital bombardment," announced Colonel Santos. Admiral Chen nodded. "As expected. Signal Artemis Base. Execute Phase 2. On the far side of the Moon, in a facility built over the past decade in absolute secrecy, Commander Hikaru Tanaka received the order. Phase 2 authorized. Activating Lunar Defense Grid." The surface of the Moon split open along previously invisible seams as massive weapon platforms emerged from underground hangars. These weren't just defensive systems. They were the result of reverse-engineered alien technology combined with humanity's own innovation. The NIGMA cruisers never saw it coming. Beams of concentrated energy shot from the lunar surface, cutting through their ship's shields and armor. 7 cruisers were destroyed in the first volley alone. Vorax stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "They have a base on their moon. How did we not detect this? It appears to have been shielded by technology beyond our scanning capabilities," Commander Nexus admitted. "High Admiral, I recommend immediate withdrawal to regroup." "No." Vorax slammed his primary fist down. "We have never retreated from a Category 3 world. Deploy the full fleet. Target their moon base first, then overwhelmed their planetary defenses with sheer numbers. The next hours saw the most massive alien assault in Earth's history. Over 2,000 NIGMA warships engaged in combat across the Earth-Moon system. But humanity's defenses held. What the humans lacked in numbers, they made up for with strategic positioning and unexpected technological capabilities. Most surprising to the NIGMA was humanity's adaptability. When the aliens adjusted their shield frequencies to counter Earth's energy weapons, humans switched to kinetic projectiles. When NIGMA deployed electronic warfare to disable human systems, operators switched to analog backups and isolated networks. By the end of the first day of combat, the NIGMA had lost nearly 30% of their invasion force, while failing to destroy even one major human city. It was unprecedented in their thousands of years of conquest. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the United Earth Council, a previously secret organization of global leaders, convened to assess the situation. Admiral Chen's strategy is working, announced General Okafor. The NIGMA are off balance, reacting rather than dictating the terms of engagement. But they still outnumber us significantly, pointed out Premier Lai of the Asian Cooperative, and we've revealed most of our defensive capabilities. Not all of them, corrected President Williams. Operation Phoenix remains in reserve. The room fell silent. Operation Phoenix was humanity's last resort, a weapon system so powerful and morally questionable that its very existence had been debated for years. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," said Admiral Chen, joining the meeting via secure link from her command center. "Phase 3 of Operation Hydra is ready. With your authorization, we'll launch our counteroffensive." The vote was unanimous. After centuries of theoretical preparation for alien contact, after decades of practical preparation since detecting the NIGMA approach, humanity would take the fight to the stars. On the inevitable Dominion, High Admiral Vorax faced the unthinkable, the possibility of defeat. His officers waited in tense silence as he considered their options. "The humans have proven more formidable than anticipated," he finally admitted. "But they have now revealed their capabilities, and the NIGMA Empire still holds the advantage in numbers and firepower." "What are your orders, High Admiral?" asked Commander Nexus. Vorax's eyes narrowed. "Call for reinforcements from the home fleet. We will withdraw to the outer system and prepare a full-scale assault that will overwhelm even these unexpected defenses. And in the meantime, target their orbital infrastructure. Destroy their satellites, space stations, and supply lines. Cut them off from their lunar base. We will strangle them slowly while we prepare the killing blow." What Vorax didn't understand, what no NIGMA could comprehend, was that isolation and hardship were conditions humans had evolved to overcome. And while the NIGMA retreated to regroup, Earth was launching the most ambitious military operation in human history. In hangars hidden beneath the ocean floors and inside hollowed-out mountains, ships that had never seen combat were being prepared for launch. These weren't the defensive platforms that had repelled the first assault. These were warships built for deep space engagement. "All fleet commanders report ready," announced Colonel Santos. "Operation Hydra Phase 3 can commence on your order." Admiral Chen took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had hoped would never come. The transition from a planetary civilization to a species at war among the stars. "Launch the fleet," she ordered. "Remind all commanders, our objective is not conquest. We fight to convince the NIGMA that Earth is not worth the cost. We seek to end this war, not extend it." As the first human warships broke atmosphere and accelerated toward the retreating NIGMA fleet, Vorax received an urgent message from his scouts. "High Admiral, we're detecting hundreds of ships launching from Earth. They appear to be warships, human warships." Vorax stared at the tactical display, watching as the unthinkable unfolded before him. The primitives weren't just defending their world, they were taking the fight to the NIGMA. "Impossible," he whispered, but the evidence was undeniable. Earth had been preparing for this confrontation for far longer than anyone could have imagined. And the NIGMA Empire was about to learn why humans had warned them to stay away. The counter-offensive. The human fleet emerged from Earth's atmosphere like a swarm of metallic insects, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. There were over 500 vessels of varying sizes, from nimble fighters to massive capital ships that rivaled the NIGMA cruisers in size. Each bore the emblem of Earth's United Defense Force, a stylized planet with a shield. High Admiral Vorax watched the approaching armada with a mixture of disbelief and growing dread. How could they have built such a fleet without our knowledge? Science Officer Maldron's analysis was grim. It appears they'd been preparing for interstellar war for decades, possibly since they first detected our approach to their system. The design of their ships suggests influence from multiple alien technologies, not just Arcturian. This revelation shook Vorax to his core. The NIGMA had always relied on their technological superiority and the element of surprise. Neither advantage remained. Worse, the human ships were displaying capabilities that suggested they weren't merely defensive vessels hastily adapted for space combat. They had been designed specifically to counter NIGMA technology. Form a defensive perimeter around Jupiter's orbit, Vorax ordered. Concentrate our remaining forces while we await reinforcements from the home fleet. Commander Nexus hesitated. High Admiral, communication with the Empire has been disrupted. We're unable to send or receive transmissions beyond this solar system. What? How is that possible? Unknown, but the disruption began shortly after the human fleet launched. They may have deployed some form of interstellar communication jamming technology. The implications were clear and disturbing. The humans had studied the NIGMA thoroughly and were systematically neutralizing their advantages. Without reinforcements, Vorax's fleet, already reduced by nearly a third, faced a protracted battle against an enemy that continued to reveal new surprises. Admiral Helena Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, Earth's flagship, and the culmination of 2 decades of secret shipbuilding. Around her, a crew representing every nation of Earth worked with practiced efficiency. This would be the first true test of humanity's space combat capabilities. All ships report ready, Admiral, announced her XO, Commander Jackson. The NIGMA fleet is regrouping near Jupiter, as expected. Chen nodded. They're waiting for reinforcements that won't come. At least not soon enough to help them. She turned to her tactical officer. Deploy the quantum communication disruptors, full spectrum. This technology, reverse-engineered from a crashed alien scout ship discovered in Antarctica 50 years earlier, was humanity's ace. By creating a localized disruption in the quantum fields that the NIGMA used for faster-than-light communication, Earth had effectively isolated Vorax's fleet. And what of our own communications, Admiral? Asked Jackson. Our ships use an entirely different system, Chen explained, based on entangled particles. The NIGMA have no experience with it, which is why they haven't attempted to jam our communications. Chen turned to the view screen, where Jupiter's massive form dominated the background behind the scattered NIGMA fleet. All ships execute Formation Delta. Target their command vessels first. The human fleet split into 3 distinct attack groups. The first, comprised of the heaviest ships including the Defiant, moved directly toward the center of the NIGMA line. The second and third groups accelerated to maximum velocity, swinging wide to flank the alien formation. The NIGMA responded predictably, concentrating their firepower on the central attacking force. Their energy weapons lit up the void between the fleets, a dazzling display of destructive power. But the human ships had been built with this specific threat in mind. Their hulls were layered with energy-dispersing materials, and rotating shield harmonics prevented the NIGMA weapons from finding a consistent frequency to target. Meanwhile, the flanking forces closed in on the sides of the NIGMA formation. These faster ships carried a weapon the aliens had never encountered: quantum disruptor torpedoes. Designed to bypass traditional shields by briefly shifting partially out of normal spacetime, these weapons could penetrate directly to a ship's hull before detonating. The first salvo devastated the NIGMA's outer defensive line. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were torn apart by weapons specifically designed to counter their defenses. For perhaps the first time in NIGMA history, they found themselves technologically outmatched. On the inevitable Dominion, alarms blared as damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. High Admiral Vorax watched in horror as ship after ship winked out of existence on his tactical display. "This is impossible," he muttered. "These humans, they know our weaknesses too well. It's as if they've been studying us for centuries." Science Officer Muldrin approached, his usual composure shaken. "High Admiral, I believe I understand how they've achieved this. Our long-range scans detected unusual activity in the Kuiper Belt years ago, but we dismissed it as natural phenomena. I believe the humans had observation posts there, studying our ships since we first entered their system. But the technology they're using, it's beyond what they should be capable of. Unless," Muldrin suggested carefully, "they've had help. Or perhaps they recovered technology from others who encountered our kind before." The realization hit Vorax like a physical blow. The NIGMA Empire had been expanding for millennia, leaving defeated civilizations in their wake. Some they destroyed entirely, others they subjugated. But what if survivors had fled? What if, over centuries, refugees from NIGMA conquest had found their way to Earth, bringing with them knowledge of NIGMA weaknesses and technologies? It would explain the impossible, how a seemingly primitive species had prepared so perfectly to counter the greatest empire in the galaxy. "Order all ships to regroup at Saturn," Vorax commanded. "We need distance to regroup and rethink our strategy." But the humans didn't allow the NIGMA fleet that luxury. As the alien ships attempted to retreat, the human vessels pursued relentlessly. Their smaller, more agile craft harried the NIGMA ships, preventing them from forming up for an orderly withdrawal. It was guerrilla warfare adapted to the void of space. Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold from the Defiance bridge. "They're breaking formation," she observed. "Push the advantage, but maintain discipline. We don't want to overextend." The human fleet pressed forward methodically, their coordination flawless. Years of simulated combat against NIGMA tactics were paying off. Each ship knew its role. Each commander understood the overall strategy. It was humanity at its finest, adaptive, innovative, and united against a common threat. By the time the battle reached Saturn's orbit, the NIGMA fleet had lost nearly half its original strength. The massive gas giant's rings became a battlefield like none other, with ships weaving between ice particles and rocky debris, using the natural features as cover and ambush points. Vorax's flagship, the inevitable Dominion, took heavy damage in this phase of the battle. A quantum torpedo struck near the command deck, killing dozens of officers and leaving the High Admiral himself injured. "We cannot win this battle," Commander Nexus finally stated, his voice heavy. "Not with our current forces. We must activate the World Breaker." Vorax, his gray skin now ashen with pain, looked up sharply. The World Breaker was meant to be used only as a last resort, against civilizations that threatened the Empire itself. "With respect, High Admiral, these humans have demonstrated that capability. If they can defeat us here, what's to prevent them from developing interstellar travel and taking the war to our core worlds?" It was the nightmare scenario no NIGMA had ever seriously contemplated, that a species they attempted to conquer might not only resist, but become an existential threat to the Empire itself. Vorax closed his four eyes briefly, then nodded. "Prepare the World Breaker. Target their planet. If we cannot have Earth, no one will." The World Breaker was the NIGMA Empire's ultimate weapon, a device capable of inducing a cascade failure in a planet's gravitational field, literally tearing it apart from the inside. It had been used only twice in the Empire's long history, both times against civilizations that had developed technologies the NIGMA deemed too dangerous to exist. As the inevitable Dominion retreated to the edge of the solar system, a single ship broke away from the NIGMA fleet. This vessel, smaller and faster than the others, accelerated toward Earth, carrying the world breaker in its hold. On the Defiant, Admiral Chen received the warning from Earth's long-range sensors. Unknown NIGMA vessel breaking formation, headed directly for Earth at maximum acceleration. All other NIGMA ships appear to be covering its retreat. Chen's blood ran cold. She had studied enough of the NIGMA's history to recognize the pattern. "It's a planet killer," she said quietly. "All ships break off current engagements. Intercept that vessel at all costs." The human fleet responded immediately, but physics was working against them. The NIGMA ship had a significant head start, and its engines were pushed beyond safe limits in a desperate dash toward Earth. Chen opened a secure channel to the United Earth Council. "This is Admiral Chen. We believe the NIGMA are deploying a super weapon capable of destroying the planet. Request immediate authorization for Operation Phoenix." There was a moment of silence before President Williams responded. "Authorization granted, Admiral. May God help us all." Chen turned to Commander Jackson. "Send the activation code to Lunar Base Artemis. Tell them it's time." As the human fleet raced to intercept the NIGMA weapon ship, Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. The secret that had been kept even from most of the military was about to be revealed. Humanity's ultimate insurance policy against extinction. On the Moon, in the deepest chamber of Artemis Base, Commander Tanaka received the Phoenix authorization code. With solemn determination, he entered his command key into the system and spoke the activation phrase, "From the ashes, we rise." Deep beneath the lunar surface, something ancient awakened, something that wasn't human in origin at all. And as the NIGMA ship carrying the world breaker crossed the orbit of Mars, it was about to discover that humanity had one final terrible surprise. The final stand and aftermath. The NIGMA world breaker ship approached Earth with single-minded purpose. Its mission was clear: deliver the ultimate weapon and ensure humanity would never threaten the Empire again. The vessel's captain, Sub-Commander Trevix, watched the blue planet grow larger on his view screen, his forehands steady on the controls despite the gravity of his task. "Weapon status?" he inquired. "World breaker primed and ready," his weapons officer responded. "Optimal deployment range in 6 minutes." Trevix allowed himself a moment of reflection. In all his years serving the Empire, he had never imagined being part of a world breaker deployment. The weapon's use was so rare that most NIGMA military personnel would serve their entire careers without seeing one activated. That he would be remembered as the one who neutralized the human threat brought him a complex mixture of pride and solemnity. "Multiple human vessels converging on our position," reported his sensor officer. "They cannot intercept before we reach deployment range." Trevix nodded. "Maintain course and speed." The humans fought well, but the outcome was inevitable. No species can stand against the full might of the NIGMA Empire. But as his ship passed the orbit of Earth's moon, something unexpected happened. The lunar surface itself appeared to shift, sections of it sliding apart to reveal what had been hidden beneath, a massive structure unlike anything the NIGMA had ever encountered. "What is that?" Trevix demanded, leaning forward in his command chair. Before his officers could respond, a blinding beam of energy erupted from the lunar facility, striking the world breaker ship with pinpoint precision. The vessel's shields, the most powerful in the NIGMA fleet, collapsed instantly. "Impossible," the shield operator cried out. "No weapon should be able to." A second beam struck, cutting through the ship's hull as if it were made of paper. The world breaker, moments from deployment, detonated prematurely, consuming the NIGMA vessel in a blinding flash of energy. From the command deck of the Defiant, Admiral Chen watched the destruction of the World Breaker ship with grim satisfaction. Operation Phoenix is a success, she reported to the United Earth Council. The immediate threat to Earth has been neutralized. And the remaining NIGMA fleet? President Williams asked. Regrouping at the edge of the system. Their numbers are diminished, but they remain dangerous. Chen paused, then continued. It's time for the final phase. We need to show them that continued aggression against Earth will only lead to their destruction. You have authorization to proceed. Admiral Williams confirmed. End this threat to our world. Chen turned to her communications officer. Signal Artemis Base. Tell them to bring the Phoenix array to full power and target the NIGMA command ship. On the lunar surface, the true nature of Operation Phoenix was now revealed to the world. The secret humanity had kept hidden for over a century. Beneath the moon's surface lay a vast alien structure, not built by humans, but discovered and restored by them. In 1956, a geological survey of the moon had detected anomalous readings from the far side. The first astronauts to investigate found the ruins of an ancient installation, the remnants of a civilization that had fled to our solar system eons ago to escape the expanding NIGMA empire. These beings, whom humans came to call the progenitors, had been nearly wiped out by the NIGMA, but not before hiding one final weapon in the most unlikely of places, Earth's moon. For decades, the world's governments had secretly worked together to understand and restore this technology, preparing for the day when the NIGMA would inevitably arrive. The Phoenix array was the culmination of those efforts, a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of projecting destructive energy across vast distances. Commander Tanaka stood in the heart of the facility, surrounded by technology that blended human innovation with alien design. Phoenix array at full power, he reported. Targeting solution locked on NIGMA command vessel. At the edge of the solar system, High Admiral Vorax received the devastating news. The World Breaker had failed, destroyed by a weapon of unknown origin fired from Earth's moon. Before he could process this information, his tactical officer called out a new alert. High Admiral, we're detecting an enormous energy buildup coming from the human's moon. It's targeting us directly. Vorax stared at the view screen, watching as a point of light on the distant moon grew brighter. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered. All ships, scatterand. His words were cut short as a beam of concentrated energy sliced through space, crossing the vast distance between the moon and the NIGMA fleet in seconds. The inevitable Dominion, flagship of the NIGMA Empire and symbol of their military might, was struck directly. The massive vessel didn't explode so much as simply cease to exist, disintegrating into its component atoms in an instant. 3 other NIGMA capital ships suffered the same fate before the beam dissipated. The remaining vessels, witnessing the unprecedented destruction of their most powerful warships, broke formation in panic. Commander Nexus, now the highest-ranking NIGMA officer remaining, stared in horror at the tactical display. Nearly 2/3 of their invasion force had been destroyed, including their flagship and High Admiral. The humans possessed a weapon that could strike anywhere in the solar system with devastating accuracy. All ships, he ordered, his voice trembling slightly. Prepare for immediate withdrawal from this system. Activate emergency FTL protocols. One by one, the surviving NIGMA ships disappeared into hyperspace, fleeing the solar system that had become their graveyard. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the NIGMA Empire retreated in defeat. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, and not only survived but triumphed. The cost had been high. Millions had died in the initial NIGMA attacks, and much of Earth's orbital infrastructure lay in ruins. But their world remained intact, their species unbroken. In the aftermath, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, looking down at the blue planet below. Commander Jackson joined her, offering a data tablet.